People who work at super fancy hotels, what kind of stuff happens that management doesn't want people to know about? In the 90s, I was doing a shoot at one of the top 5 hotels in Paris. The manager told us they basically had a racial quota. They would turn down most Arab reservations to help their European customers feel more comfortable. He was quite open about it. I worked in room service at a very chic hotel in Miami. One guest requested that a specific waitress always deliver him food. Not exactly sure what went on in there, but he tipped her with a big bag of weed each time, which she would promptly bring back to share with the room service staff. Calvin Klein brought his own food because he was on a special diet. He was an asshole about it too. I can confirm that the concierge will get you whatever you want: women, drugs, Cuban cigars, guests listed at clubs, and more. On the opposite end of the spectrum, I worked at a nice but older resort, one step above a cheap motel. A local hooker stole all the furniture from one of our rooms. It was old crappy wicker furniture. We had a local couple, who were staying with us to avoid being served for a lawsuit. We weren't allowed to say that they were staying there. The police eventually showed up looking for them. There were several times when guests would come to the front desk claiming the maids had stolen something from their room. They would be angry, demanding we call the police. Every single time, they found the item either in their luggage or car, or their travel companions had moved or packed the item. One gentleman claimed that he forgot his very expensive camera in his room. My manager pulled up video that showed him packing up his car, placing the camera on top of the car, and driving off without realizing it. We had one of the Baldwins beat up a hooker behind the building once. That was before I worked there, but people still talked about it. We had an entire wing of the hotel infested with bedbugs. They just moved through the walls from one room to the next. We waged a war of attrition that took years, and costed a lot of money, but we never stopped renting the rooms. Sometimes, drug addicts have a lot of money, or maybe better said, sometimes people with a lot of money have drug addictions, so maybe once a year or so, you'd have someone move in, and then end up staying for months, and you didn't know it was a problem until it was a problem. One day there's suddenly a lot of police cars in the parking lot, and it's something you were just not supposed to talk about, and pretend never happened. We had one old guy though, who was rich, divorced several times over. He just retired in the hotel. He had a room on the ground level, right around the corner from the hotel bar. I don't know what he paid for it, but it wasn't cheap, and he furnished his own room. Everyone on staff knew his habits, knew his favorite drinks, knew when to leave him alone or when he wanted to chat. The funniest thing was, after he passed, he had pre-booked his memorial at a totally different hotel. He liked his privacy, I guess. This was about 20 years ago. A family member used to work at Opryland Hotel in Nashville, a super fancy hotel. For about a year, they had a phantom shooter, as in random dumps left in random places. It was always in corners where security cameras didn't reach. They figured it was an employee, and had some ideas, but never knew who it was until someone left, and it stopped. My brother worked in an upscale hotel in Southern California. A morbidly obese guest sat on the toilet in his room, shattered it, got his femoral artery slashed by a chunk of broken toilet, bled to death, and flooded his room when the water line ruptured. My brother found out about it from the maintenance guy who found the body. Management made sure no other guest ever knew, including the guests in the room below the death scene who called for maintenance because water was running down their wall. Used to work at a high-end lodge that hosted holiday parties and fancy dinners for software giants, and one executive peed all over a room. That was $13,000 in damage. We regularly had rich guys pull up in their Lamborghinis with a hooker. My favorite was the couple we had to essentially evict from their room due to smell and noise complaints. When we got in, there were dozens of designer shoe boxes and coke residue everywhere. The woman left with her foot hanging out the window as they drove away. Rich people are weird. I only work as a housekeeper at a regular 4-star hotel, but probably about 25% of people either bleed or leave poop stains on the beds. It's truly atrocious how disgusting people are, especially when they know someone else is cleaning it up, even the wealthier guests. The best tippers are the cleanest people. If someone fully pooped on the bed and used towels to wipe, drank heavily and puked on the carpet in multiple places, and clogged the toilet, that person will not tip at all. But the person who barely used the full bed and didn't use the shower at all and was super clean and polite usually is a good tipper. I worked cooking at an ultra-exclusive resort in Utah which is at $3,000 to $12,000 per night. Nothing that exciting happened in my year there. I found a bottle in the fridge labeled Kristen Bell's breast milk, do not use. Most celebrities were nice, except for David Beckham. He specifically requested no staff members make eye contact with him. I had put in my 2 weeks, and was really drunk on a day off, and made a post on Facebook about how Gordon Ramsay was coming, and I hoped he wasn't filming Kitchen Nightmares with us. I was fired within 24 hours. I did get to cook fish tacos for him and his family though, and I heard he complimented the dinner kitchen crew directly, which is cool. During housekeeping, hotels use different colored cloths to wipe your drinking glasses, cutlery, toilets, and sinks, to avoid contamination. They just don't bother separating these cloths after wiping and moving to the next room. I used to work as an accountant for a couple of luxury hotels that were owned by the same company. We would open room reservations for different sport events about 8 months in advance. Due to high demand, these reservations had to be a 2-day stay. Payment was made in full, $450 to $800 depending on room type. Refunds were available only if you canceled a month before the arrival date. When I first started in my position, I discovered $63,000 worth of reservations that had been canceled on time but were never refunded. I showed it to my manager, an absolutely incompetent woman who couldn't check in a guest if she needed to. She got back to me after discussing it with one of the owners. I can't remember how exactly she put it, but I was told to just forget the matter and not to mention it to anyone. I got a $500 cash Christmas bonus that year. A well-known luxury hotel and resort chain keeps a database of you. They get pictures from the internet and basically stalk you to create a profile. They write down what you ordered to eat, how many towels you needed, what drinks you liked, your kids' names and birthdays, address, and phone number. Everyone working in the hotel has access to this database and can see your information. It's not all good stuff either. Also, the one I was at had to remove cameras in the lobby, because VIPs would bring their mistresses, and no evidence was allowed to be recorded. I worked at a lodge that recycled table salad dressing container servings. When a customer ordered a big salad, they get a metal container of about 5 ounces of their dressing. Most people didn't use it all, it was too much. So, when the table is cleaned up, the dressing container is brought back, and the contents poured into the big gallon container of the dressing. I was mortified when I was told to do this by an employee. To be certain, the owner explained to me that's how they do it here. So, can you imagine what has happened to a container of blue cheese after it has been on a table for 40 minutes? Good management constantly fixes mess-ups and guests never know. To sum up my experience as manager, if maintenance guy shows up with the manager to check something on the AC or TV, then an employee accidentally checked in the wrong reservation. The manager gets your name, gets you a free drink at the bar, and fixes the mess up. Rooms AC and heating go out all the time. If it's a hot summer and the AC doesn't work but we are overbooked, last check-in will get the room. We bank on it being cooler in the night. We know everything about you, especially if we have a reason to. I know that brand new Corvette is rented, I know your schedule, and all your movements through the hotel. If you are good at hotels, then you have a good idea of who, what, when, and where, most of the time. Ever noticed a random maintenance guy on one floor and security on the next floor and then a manager checking out a picture on the other floor? I've spread the team out on each floor to watch out on kids with sports teams. The parents like to get drunk and let their little darlings run free in the hotel. Yes, the half-drunk girl you walked in with your 5 buddies who just want to see the pool is obvious. We know and have cameras, then everyone is shocked when you ask them to leave. I saw you rapping at 3 a.m., walking down Main Street with your buddy filming using an iPhone. You're good, but we know you aren't a guest, so just walking in the hotel isn't going to work. We know it's a nice place but ask for permission. Same with influencers. Beer is our bartering system. I could fill pools with the amount of beer I've given away. Got a maintenance issue? Go to the bar and have a drink on me. Room isn't ready and you are mad? Have a beer. Events pay the bills, not the guest. We could sell every room every night, and still not hold a candle to event revenue. 40K weddings, 85K from a hospital party, 65K Shriner event, and more. When guest says we will close because their money is what helps keep the lights on, we have a chuckle behind their back. Larger hotels have better insurance to compensate for bedbugs. We won't say their name, but we will hand you over to human resources who files a claim and start a compensation package. As for when it happens, it can cost us between $2,500 and $5,000 to clear a room of them, and we treat the rooms on each side of the infected. The hotel has a nervous system. There are wires that run through the whole hotel telling us of any water, fire, or tampering to the hotel's safety. How do I know you are smoking in your room? I didn't walk by, the panel told me. How did I know you tried to remove the detector? The panel told me. And why are you using steam to cover up smoke? The correct way would be a thick plastic closed hair cover. The panel knows pretty much everything, and those housekeepers are also looking for evidence of smoke. We don't care about high-end drugs. I have had a VIP drop a small bag of cocaine and I returned it to him in the bathroom. It's not worth our time to confront them or get police involved, unless it's a full-on drug party that's out of control.